Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Kool-Aid Podcast here. As you can see today, I'm the one doing the intro. Very excited here to preview the game today against Inter. Well, that will be played tomorrow, and I just want to hear what your thoughts are, Elias.
Hey guys, back for another episode. Uh, Huge game tomorrow. Absolutely huge game. Tomorrow is a must win. This game tomorrow decides our Champions League fate. Barcelona hasn't been playing very well in these past couple of matches, and we're gonna have to desperately step up our level if we want to make it past the group stage. It's gonna be very hard because Inter is going to be very defensive. But I trust in this team to perform and get the 3 points.
Right, and at the end of the day, it's we're not in the knockout stages, right? We just need one goal. We just need 3 points, right?
Mhm. Well, to add, it would be better if we win 2-0 by like a 2 goal advantage,
Right. Yeah. Of course.
just
Right.
because like on the head to head, that's like very important because like if we, for example, don't beat Bayern, then it could be decided
Right. No, I
on.
know it's important, right? But our main focus is to just win the game,
Yeah,
and
it's to just win the game.
right.
That's our main focus. We need to win the
and
game.
it's like you said, we're putting everything on the line here. Yes, the league is going well for us. We are in first place right now, but it's obviously always very important to be competing at the highest level in every competition. And now more than ever, we have so much to prove. We have such a good team. Unfortunately, we've been plagued by injuries, mainly in our defense, and that's been detrimental to
Hmm.
us. But up top we have all of our guys, and right, we've just recently started getting Ansu Fati back in regular playtime. So we gotta play it like a final. The next
Yeah,
two games
yeah,
that
yeah,
we
yeah. The game tomorrow is a final.
have,
Barcelona has
definitely.
has to go out there and like run and give everything they have,
If, if,
basically
if we don't
everything.
win, right? If we don't win tomorrow, we can pretty much say bye to our hopes.
No. If we don't win, we're knocked out. It's that
Right.
simple because we would
Mhm.
need Inter to lose both of the games,
Yeah, and that's not gonna
and
happen.
and and for us to win against Bayern and Victoria Pilsen, it's basically like decided. So we
Right.
need to win tomorrow.
Yeah,
Um,
we're very cornered right now. We're in a very uncomfortable situation. But I mean, we've seen, especially today, we've seen some upsets. So although we should be expected to win the game tomorrow based on our team, even if Inter have been playing a bit better than us, there's still a chance of always surprising the rest or catching them at a bad time. And I know that's obviously not what you hope for, but just look at the Juventus game today. That was something else. That 2-0 defeat.
Oh my yeah,
And
Juventus lost 2-0. I think well
to
away. They
yeah,
were away. Hmm.
and we saw Madrid today almost lose as well to
Uh,
Shakhtar. I
yep.
don't know how to say the
Yeah,
name, but
Shakhtar the Donetsk.
Shakhtar Donetsk. Yeah, and
Hmm.
it's a lot of teams have been surprising lately. And yes, we should be expected to win this game. But although it's a difficult situation, and we know how Inter is going to play, they're going to play very defensive. They're going to be playing off the counterattack, very low block. It's a typical Italian way of playing, but that doesn't matter, right? We have to be the better team. I think we have the better players. In my opinion, we have the better squad as a whole, the most quality, and we just got to play like a unit. And I think that's where we lack sometimes, right? We don't have maybe the time together, the experience. A lot of players are very young, and I think we just like the chemistry at moments, but we just gotta get firing.
Yeah,
The chances we're creating is a lot.
hmm yeah. I spoke with Alvaro on the post match against Celta, and we were mentioning how our defense is going to have to be very vital on like the transitions because that's how interesting to hurt us. Um, we're going to see who plays in defense, and which I was debating with Alvaro, seeing like who he preferred at right back, either Sergio Roberto or Balde. Who do you think should be starting in that right back position? For though before we go on to that, what formation do you want Xavi to line up with?
Mm, it's a good question, actually. I'd probably say 3-5-2,
A 3-5-2,
just
Saka
because.
midfield.
Yeah. And the thing with Inter, right? If you see the way they attack, If they get a counterattack, they usually play off Lautaro, and then he makes a run.
Hmm.
And then the white players will usually give him a cross, or he'll just take on the defender 1v1 and create a chance. So I think with 3 men at the back, 3 center backs, right? So in that case, that would be Eric Garcia, PK, and I would put Alonso.
You'd put Alonso as a
Yeah,
left
I
center
know.
back.
Yeah, yeah, as the other center back, I think he'd be fine there. Not a lot of responsibility for him to be transitioning, so less of a worry for him. But at the same time, if we're putting that firepower up in the midfield, right, we could have the 3 men in midfield, Pedri, Gavi, and Busquets. Actually, I would actually prefer we start Frankie De Jong. So
Hmm.
Gavi, Pedri, and De Jong. That should be our starting midfield. To press hard, to be on their heels, and then the other 2 players in the midfield. I would like to have Balde on the left, and hmm, that's actually a tough one.
Yeah.
And
Do
well,
you go
no,
for it?
actually, since it's a 3-5-2, I will put on the right mid. I will put Dembele,
Dembele,
and left mid Balde, and up top, I would play Fatih and Lewa.
Fati, and Lewis. So that's your formation for tomorrow.
Right, because I'm thinking, hey, Inter's gonna be playing low ball possession. They're gonna be, just not parking the bus, because they do create chances, and they do get ahead, and they are a threat going up. But they are gonna play very defensive, and that's something you got to look out for. So I feel like if we have those 2 extra men in midfield, we're just completely hounding them the whole game. They have nowhere to go.
Hmm.
We have more men in the middle, and we can stop counterattacks, break them up easier. And with the white players, yes, they're expected to track back, but the defensive duties, right? They're not born by themselves. If that makes sense, right?
Hmm.
Because we have no wingers, no
Yeah.
wingers, no traditional wingers, right? So they have to go up, and I expect them to be in the middle to higher end of the pitch for the most part. But of course, tracking back and having, I would say maybe De Jong and Pedri dropping back a little more, giving Gavi that creative freedom.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that's probably the best formation we can play Inter. I'm just trying to think. Of course, if we have um, if we have a player like De Jong or Gavi who are also good pressers, we can be targeting Milan's midfield, which their main threat is
With Brozovic out, Brozovic is
right,
going
of
to
course, but we also we forget the Turkish international.
Çalhanoğlu.
Say that again.
Çalhanoğlu, is that how you say it?
Yeah, that guy. I, I
Yeah.
I always butcher his name, but right. So, and I think that's honestly the best way we can play. Of course, they play excellent defense, and they're excellent low block. They proved this last year against Liverpool, and they proven themselves, right? So we just gotta, like I'm saying, we just gotta try to dominate from early on, create chances, because all we need is to get lucky once.
Yeah.
They need to get lucky every single time we attack.
Yeah. And then, yeah, looking at the team, there's actually a lot of speculation on what Xavi is going to line up with tomorrow. There are some rumors that Xavi's going to line up with a 4-4-2, have an extra midfielder, have Frenkie de Jong and Busquets as the 2 pivots, and Pedri and Gavi more advanced, and have Lewandowski and Dembele up top. That's one formation. Another one is to go with a 3-4-3. The thing is that what Inter would have to do is basically man marks. Like that's like the problem when 2 teams play the exact same formation. You just have to man mark each other, and we would have to see who wins in the individual battles. It's gonna be that type of game. But Inter's also going to be coming into this game ultra defensive. There's rumors that they're going to be playing a 3-5-1-1. So that it's basically going to be like everyone in the box just defending that. So I personally think that Busquets should start, but I don't think Gavi should start. I think Frenkie de Jong, we need his runs into the box. Also, Cassie, He's got the green light, and he's going to be able to. He's included in the match squad for tomorrow, and that's big news because an explosive player and a player who likes to attack a box to box. Looking at this team, it's going to be. I think the lineup on how Xavi starts is going to dictate like the performance of the team. What
Right,
do
but
you think
I
about?
want I wanted to ask you, why not Gavi?
Why not Gavi? No, just I think like Gavi is basically like the energetic presser. I think when you don't have the ball, he's that guy who can get up in your face, who can disrupt play. But I see Frenkie De Jong more as like a disruptor, running with the ball,
Mm,
more with the runs. I see Gavi as like a bulldozer. I see Frenkie De Jong more as like an arrow, if you were to say. Just like
right.
you remember the runs that he was making earlier in the season, where he picks it up from deep and he just like runs uh, towards goal, and we're gonna need that. And he also comes up with goals as well. So I would start. I would bring on Gavi in the second half, but Frankie De Jong needs to start this game. It depends how the game's going, because we know that Busquets. I don't think he's going to be able to last 90 minutes at his highest level. Because against the game against Bayern, you saw when the game completely broke and it was like back and forth. We conceded 2 goals in basically 4 minutes, just because like the game broke. Busquets wasn't able to cover the pitch, and it just basically broke the team. So in a game like that, that is where Frankie De Jong is like very crucial. I think that's where he thrives in. So we're gonna have to see what Xavi decides.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You know, the young is I can't think of a lot of players that are like him. Right, he's very unique in that skill set of running through the midfield and disrupting the team. And right, I think he'd be a good choice to have. You also mentioned Kessie.
Mm-hmm.
That's another player I would like to see because he's very strong, very physical. He can win the ball back for us. He can play. You know, he can set up play up front. So he's another player that I like to see in Xavi's plans. Overall, though, if I were to tell you right now, hmm, I don't know if he's the right option to start with. I think the more I think about it, I think you might be right on the double pivot with De Jong and Busquets. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
the thing about Busquets, I don't know. I feel like for our needs right now, I feel like he's someone that would be better in a knockout stage game where things need to be calm. You need to be more
Yeah. Yeah, but we have to remember that
relaxed.
Busquets has been key this season. Like without Busquets, you can clearly tell that the team isn't as fluid, or
Yeah,
as in control, as with Busquets on. So Xavi has a dilemma, because when the game is like that, when the team is parked all the way behind, and Busquets is higher up the pitch, and he's able to basically intercept high up and not basically run all around the pitch. I think that's where he's best suited at,
yeah.
but
He
he's not
needs
suited in the back and forth.
no, no. Of course, he's older and he's never been a player to have the speed or the stamina to be doing that.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I agree with you, which is why I guess the double pivot thing is fine. It just kind of limits us going up. I feel like it'd be a little more defensive than we need. But I mean, whatever works. I don't think it's a bad formation. I just don't know if Xavi will go in that direction.
Yeah, and another topic is we're gonna need our attacking players, whoever starts, to perform. Lewandowski, other than the game against Pilsen in the Champions League where he scored a hat trick, he's basically been non-existent in
Yeah,
both of the Champions League games that we played. In Bayern, he missed some sitters that cost us the victory. Against Inter Milan, you saw how he basically was non-existent just because like he didn't get any service. He was marked by 3 defenders. It would basically need to create some form of magic or something. I think he was way too far away from Pedri. And also in the game against Celta, we saw Gavi and Pedri switch sides. Pedri was on the right, Gavi was on the left. So that that's another tactical decision, just to bring Pedri a little bit more closer to Lewandowski. Um, but once again, this game is not only huge for the Champions League, but also like a huge important like psychological must-win game, because imagine we lose this, knocked out of the Champions League, the repercussions. I mean, not only like on the pitch, but like economically, remember, like we still need to go far in this competition. But we have the Clasico this weekend. Like this is a huge game. Imagine going to El Clasico with a huge loss. I mean,
Yeah, and a heartbreaking loss because you're out of the biggest club competition in the
yeah,
world.
and then bro, I don't want to play in Europa. I don't even want to be near that competition.
Mm,
Yeah, it's gonna
for
suck.
sure. No, and it's what you're saying. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to more psychological thing than anything because yes, we were unlucky against Bayern, but it's games like that that they cost us. And then the loss against Inter, right? It's also heartbreaking because they're both big teams. There are teams that are hard to beat, and losing to them does not feel well good. To our, I guess, in our defense, right? We have played them away, but still, that's no excuse, especially with the form that we had and the team that we have. So hopefully, I'm hoping tomorrow we get a 2-0 victory, maybe a
Yeah,
2-1. It's gonna
I
be
I want to completely demolish Inter. I want a 4-0, a 4-1. I want something like that from Barcelona.
right. No,
I want the players basically like to put the same energy and effort they did against Bayern, in that
yeah,
first leg. That game was played at such a high intensity that I want Barca to replicate that, because if you remember, the Xavi has been rotating these players. They've been playing 60 minutes, something like that. They haven't been playing that much football. Of course, we have a tight schedule, but Xavi has been very keen rotating. And I would like to think that we didn't see the intensity in the last couple of games just because they were saving themselves for this moment. Um, but there's something I wanted to ask you. If Barcelona do indeed take the loss and we get knocked out of the Champions League, would you sack Xavi?
no,
Would you sack Xavi?
no, because at the end of the day, I think I don't think he's done enough wrong, right? Um, and what I mean, I guess what I mean by this is, I feel like the players are more to blame than the actual manager.
Hmm.
And that's something a lot of people don't consider in football because it's always easier to blame the person in charge, but that's not always the case. We have seen his tactics haven't been bad. His tactics, in theory, they've worked, right? We can see how the formation he set up, the way he was playing against Bayern, we were outplaying them. And the start of the season, then the last season, he's just been phenomenal. Now, I think it's the players. Maybe it's a lot of pressure, which they are under because we do have a super team, and
Hmm.
it's a lot of factors. I just think the players have underperformed.
No, I completely agree with you. This reminds me of Arteta. I When Arteta first came, you saw how Arsenal was in a mess. His first couple, how many seasons has he been there? 3, 4,
Like three, yeah, it's been like
3. Yeah, I think the first 2 seasons were very up and down. There were two moments where Arteta could have been sacked, or Arsenal were not flying, and you saw how Arsenal kept the faith in their manager, and he turned out good. Look, Arsenal now top of the table.
right.
Um,
No, they've also had good transfer business, but
eh,
I get what you're saying. We do need to back our coaches more, and not
Yeah,
just
yeah, exactly.
give them the ball whenever the
We
team is.
have to think. We have to think. Xavi has not even been here for a year. He hasn't been in here for a year. He came in late November. I believe it was around that time. And in that time, well, before that, before he came in, we were around ninth in the league. In around November, October, around there. Barcelona were on the verge of getting knocked out of the Champions League, which they did. Xavi came in a little bit too late. Um, on And then you see how the improvement of the team under Xavi, where we're now top of the league. The team is playing better, just as sometimes they're very inconsistent. But I see this as a long term project. Even though we've reinforced the team tremendously, I think it was much needed. Because Laporta said that if it wasn't for the pull levers, Barcelona were going to be bankrupt, because Barcelona was in basically in the ICU. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they needed the levers to basically survive, and it gave us a chance to be very competitive this season. I would not like to imagine what this team would look like without the levers pulled. Um, the upgrade in quality has been tremendous, but still, there's a lot of work to be done. And even if we get knocked out of the Champions League, I would still not sack Xavi just because of the progress that we made.
Yeah,
But
and it's what you're saying. We do need to be more patient. This isn't a linear process. This isn't just, hey, I got a new manager, now I'm gonna be champions of Europe. No, Ancelotti. First of all, if we want to compare Madrid, 2 seasons ago, Madrid got knocked out of the semifinals by Chelsea.
yeah, but the difference with Madrid is that they have like a core unit that has been
No.
playing together like for
That's what I'm
years.
gonna get to. Right. That's what I'm gonna get to. You have players there that have been there not for 1 year, not for two, but more.
Mm-hmm.
You have players, excuse me, like Carvajal. You have players like Modric. You have players like Kroos. You have players. Well, he just left, but you had players like Casemiro.
Mm-hmm.
You had players like Marcelo, who was key in the development of that team until last year. You have players also the likes of what's his name, Valverde, who's been for the team for a couple years now, right? And
Yeah,
I think a little more than that actually.
yeah,
And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and you also have players like Vinicius. You have players that have been there for a few seasons. Players that have gotten bantered. You have players like Karim Benzema.
Yeah,
You have players that have gotten bantered, that have gotten. And I'll admit, I banter a lot of those players. And you have players that
yeah.
that have underperformed, but they didn't get traded. Madrid, although
Like,
Ancelotti just came in last year, I believe.
mm-hmm.
Um, Still, he although he won with them, it was mainly because of the team he already had. Right?
Yeah,
He's a
exactly.
phenomenal coach, but we just gotta be patient with the squad. Yes, Madrid reinforced the team, but they already had most of those players playing with each other. Whereas in this
Yeah,
team,
it was very small tweaks. It was
most of your team is relatively new. You have players like Christensen, you have players
uh,
like Conde, you have players like Balde, you have players like Lewandowski, Rafinha,
mm-hmm.
right? You Kessie, you have a lot of players that Araujo too, I would say, because yes, he's been with the team for like a couple of years now, but still, he's getting a lot of teammates and he's still getting used to them.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
getting used to starting more and more. So, um, you have a lot more factors that you got to consider. So it's not over if we lose tomorrow, but of course, we gotta go in there like our life depends on it. We gotta go
yeah.
there
We, we,
with the
we, we-
ambition to win, with the ambition to just
mhm.
being hungry and wanting to do more to win this competition.
But before we round up, a couple more talking points. In your lineup, you have Balde, as like
Yeah,
a wingback in the 3-5-2.
right.
Um, I get the feeling that Balde is not gonna play this game. I
No,
feel,
he probably won't.
and I think that that's gonna be a huge mistake from Xavi if he doesn't play. You saw in the game against Inter, and the later half, we had a couple of chances that were coming from that side. That the pace
Mm.
of Balde, he's much more offensive than Alonso. It's a big game, and Xavi has to go bold, because we can't just sit back. If I really would not like to see Balde at right back, but I trust in Xavi. This team needs to get the 3 points to continue our campaign in the Champions League alive, and we'll move. We'll see what happens there. And before we round off, also, there was a lot of news of fans of Barca socials selling their tickets, their season tickets. If we see the same thing that happened against Eintracht, where the Camp Nou was filled with white, I think that's going to be game over. Barcelona need the crowd. Barcelona need their 12th man to put on the
Yeah,
pressure against Inter. And Barcelona have been forced some protocols to put some stops and make sure that this doesn't happen. For example, just like not like home, like in the home team seats, for example, in the home area, there's not allowed to be anyone with the Inter kit, for example. And a whole different other protocols. But we need the crowd to basically support this team in like a monumental game. Mm-hmm.
for sure. And we know because the fans are always the first to complain. We as fans. I mean, I know I'd be there if I could.
Yeah, yeah,
But
because
the
it's a huge game.
fans have to be a bit more retrospective and say, hey,
Mhm.
we gotta show up for the team because it matters, right? These players are professionals; they're gonna play no matter what, but it helps a lot more than people think.
No, yeah. But guys, that was it for today's episode. We're going to be back tomorrow with our post-match reaction. Alex, before we go, do you want to give a score prediction, or do you want to give
Well,
away?
not that I'm great at this. I've been wrong a few times before, but if I had to give it a guess, 2-0, 2-1 us.
2-0-2-1
It's gonna be a low scoring game. I can promise you that.
It's going to be a low scoring game. Okay, well, I am not going to give a match prediction. Hopefully Barcelona win, but I'm not going to give a match prediction. But guys, that was it for today's episode. We'll be back tomorrow with the post-match reaction. As always, like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll be back tomorrow. And we'll see you then.